All right, so here's the story here. There seems to be some way that this, yep, there seems to be some way that, and I'm getting all sorts of messages from Google Teams at the moment. This Google account that the city uses for its YouTube streaming seems to be locked, and I don't know what happened. It's an account that I'm admin over, and I'm really not sure what the heck to do about it at this point because I can't stream the meeting. I have, let me see here if I have another, I don't know. This is really unfortunate. I'll give it a whirl one more time, but for some reason, it's just not, it's not allowing me any access. I don't know what I can do. This is my, wheelhouse too. So something seems to have gone terribly wrong here.
Is there, could we have the meeting without the live stream?
I mean, we can, and I can just put out public notice afterwards that if individuals are interested in accessing a recording, I can then send them a link because I have it recording. We're just not able to live stream. It's not going to work right now. There's something corrupted with the YouTube linkage, which I'm going to have to make sure that this meeting is over with enough time to try to fix this before city admin has to meet and make sure that that's all set. So we could proceed if you all would like. I'm just going to have to be very cautious about allowing enough time to make sure that that meeting is able to stream because that's a priority. So
Well, let's jump right into it. Then,
okay. Yep. And I do have the recording. I'll say that here. Apologies for all of that. And I will just let folks know if they want it, they can have it. Yeah. Sorry.
So
Go ahead.
we've got approval of minutes. There are two sets of minutes from pre-COVID, and Melody's working on other minutes. But
Minutes
I would,
Mountain.
I'll make a motion to approve I guess we got to do them one at a time, but I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of February 26, 2020. Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, and all in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye.
Unless there's any discussion. Okay, that was unanimous. And then I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2020. There's a second. Any discussion? And all in favor?
Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't there.
Okay, all in favor was Shirley abstaining. I'm assuming there's no public.
Nope.
We didn't get any.
We didn't get any emails with comments or anything.
And is Graham back?
Yep.
I am, Rick.
Oh, there he is. Okay. So you're up, Graham.
Okay, thanks everybody. And thank you, Melody, for trying to fix that little technical glitch. We'll hopefully be ready for city administration, as you say.
Yeah.
So just briefly, update from council. I think in terms of relevance to the Community Police Board, I know you are aware that the mayor has formed a task force for reimagining public safety. That involves members of the public, some members from the PBA, and members of council. I think it's taken a while to get that group kind of named, and it's a really important task that this group is going to work on after the decision that was taken at council to basically develop plans for a Department of Public Safety that would include armed officers and unarmed community workers within a Department of Public Safety. And my understanding is that task force will start meeting next week, and we'll be reporting to council in time for us to think about what the budget implications might be for any of the recommendations that the task force might come up with. And I do want to stress that when this whole process started, it was recognized that, you know, reimagining public safety is not going to happen overnight. It's a multi-year effort to really take a good look at public safety and what's needed in a changing environment, and try and use all the resources that are available, whether it's armed officers or community health workers or unarmed members of public safety, to try and address a much broader range of issues that are coming up and facing right now just IPD by itself. And obviously this isn't sustainable. So I know people perhaps have been frustrated. I asked Melody to send, many of you may have seen this message from the PBA, which personally I think is a little bit unhelpful to the current situation, but it's their right to send around their opinions. But I do want to say that I think certainly the mayor and the task force are taking this whole project extremely seriously. There's been a huge amount, as you know, of public input on this, and council made a clear decision on the direction that they wanted to go on behalf of the public. And we just need to make sure that things are done carefully and as quickly as possible without rushing things. So I think I'll wrap up there, and then if people have questions or any things that I can help clarify, I'd be happy to do that.
So, Graham, I had a question. The task force that's currently being formed, is that to deal with only a specific portion of the plans moving forward, or is it kind of a permanent, all-encompassing task force?
No, I think the idea is there were several issues that needed to be addressed in order to implement, a revised Department of Public Safety in terms of things like budgets, leadership, all of those things had to be determined. So I think I haven't seen the charge to the task force, but it's certainly going to be a fairly, I would say, it's not going to be there forever, but it is certainly going to be there. And as you know, it's going to be there for, I would say, at least a year in terms of coming up with recommendations. But we do want them to have the opportunity to make any recommendations that they feel are urgent in time for council to be able to act for next year's budget, which, as you know, those discussions will start to take place later in the summer, and then really start to be more detailed in October, when the budget is kind of discussed and then finalized in November. So I don't have a definite timetable for the task force, Rick, but I imagine it will be in place for quite some time.
And have you got copies of both of my communications to the mayor?
I have, and I wasn't involved in naming of the task force. That was something that the mayor did after talking with others. And as you know, there are council members there. I'm pretty sure there are like 7 members of the public on the task force. And as I said, 3 members of the PBA as well.
Graham, this is Shirley.
Yeah, hi, Shirley.
Is there a reason that these people are nameless? We should be able.
I want to jump in and help out with this, because I'm actually charged with being communications lead on city-based recommendations primarily, which would be this one that this working group is working towards, the replacement of the Ithaca Police Department with the Community Solutions and Public Safety Department. Everything's just being finalized as of right now. The group had to get proper notice that their names were going to be released publicly, and had to kind of agree that this was something that they were aware of, because a lot of these folks are just citizen volunteers and they just wanted to be sure that they were being respectful of that, make sure everyone accepted the position, just kind of working out the next steps in terms of onboarding and scheduling for possible media opportunities and things like that. But there's a meeting that I'm going to be in directly following this one to try to finalize that announcement. So there's no reason aside from just simply the timing hasn't lined up properly for that group to be announced, but it is formed, accepted, and very shortly going to be put out in the public.
Thanks,
I
Mel.
promise.
No, thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Melanie.
Sure.
Graham, what is the search status for the new chief?
So I don't know what the committee has not met yet. I think the position, if I'm not mistaken, Melody, has the position been posted yet? Or
There's a position that they're going to post. They're getting approval on the Community Justice Center director is what
Right.
they're looking towards right now.
oh, I
I'm
think
not sure where the overlap
okay.
is.
Richard, I think you were asking about the new
The
police
chief.
chief. Is
Yeah,
that right?
I don't know the status of that.
Yeah, I don't think that's been posted as of yet.
You're aware of what exactly is the temporary plan? Is there a temporary plan?
Well, also,
Wait it out.
so yeah, Vince may want to address that, but John Jolie is acting chief. I mean, he was appointed when Dennis stepped down, soon after Dennis stepped down.
No, I know I know that he's acting chief.
Right.
But is there a plan that where he's acting chief, where it's established he's going to be acting chief for a year's time while the search is in place, or is there?
He'll be acting chief until a permanent chief is appointed.
Okay. And do you happen to know any update about Detective Bartsdale in that case?
I don't have any update on that.
Okay.
So with that in mind, Graham, I'm sure that I copied, or at least I tried to copy, the two short emails I sent to the mayor offering our expertise on the task force, not anyone in particular, but I did say that we were willing and able to participate in the task force should he so decide. First, I wrote on the 28th of April. I haven't heard back, and then I wrote again on the 5th of this month. No, I wrote again last week saying that hadn't heard back, we're still willing and able, and I added that we are particularly interested in participating in any part of the process that would change the purview duties of our board. Anything that would impact the way the community police board operates or will operate in the future under the new plans. And I haven't heard back from that. I'm kind of looking for, this is part of the new business discussion, but I am looking for any feedback from members of our board as to how strongly we feel we should at least be represented on the task force, the original task force, and how strongly you feel about us being representative when issues that directly affect the operations of our board come up. So I'll be asking you guys that as we go along. I haven't heard back from the mayor at all, and it may be that he will contact us and ask one of us to participate, in which case I will reach out to you guys and ask you if you are interested.
Well, I don't know, if the task force has been finalized. It sounds like it's pretty close from what Melody's saying. But I will say that once that task force is announced, the the community police board is definitely, I mean, you should definitely feel free to contact the task force. I mean, it's going to be, the names are going to be public. There will be a way of providing input to the task force, I assume. So I would urge the board to make sure that, especially as you said, when there's discussions, and you know there will be, because that was one of the recommendations, was to look at the scope and powers of the community police board with the possibility of changing some of those expectations and scope of the community police board. So I can't speak for the task force, but I don't think they would do that without at least getting input from the current community police board itself.
I'm surprised, Graham, because considering that we've had no input into any of this so far, we haven't been asked. It wouldn't surprise me at all if we're not asked, but that's just an aside, and that's not directed at you, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we weren't asked, because we haven't been asked through any of this process to participate. We haven't been turned away, but we haven't been asked. And we have offered. But that's it for me.
Well, it's quite telling that the mayor has failed to respond on 2 separate occasions to a communication from the community police board, as I'm speculating as to his position on the community police board participating in this restructure. I would question. You know, I've been on the board for 10 years. One would assume that I have a little bit of knowledge as to how things have been handled over those 10 years and the difficulties that have taken place with over those 10 years with citizens being unhappy about things and then happy about things. But that's just me.
I don't know how, this is a lot of crossover, and so this is something I'm going to have to kind of clarify with this other side of work that I'm doing now that I'm involved with the process. Just to hit 2 points on a very clear matter, we're presently in development for a project software tool that will host a very dynamic back and forth kind of, here's my idea of how this could go, here's where I stand in the community, please reach out to me, and there'll be kind of a 2-way scope of communication between the working group members, between people that they will eventually bring on as advisors. And so what I could say to your interest in things that specifically involve, of course, the community police board, is that I can communicate that that is something that you all would feel valued in being reached out to regarding. And when that does come into play in this scope of work, then, you know, perhaps there'll be an opportunity to bring someone, you know, all of you on in some sort of an advisory role for that scope of work when that's being discussed. But I will try to relay, you know, the frustration that you haven't felt included at this point. And if you want to reach out to me offline, there are going to be opportunities coming up for, you know, more engagement in the process, and I can make sure that you're included.
Thank you, Melody. I mean, that would be a good step. My personal feeling is, and Shirley made me think of this, members of this board have at least a decade, some of us, of experience in how the police and the community have been interacting in a number of areas. And I'm a little surprised that our expertise hasn't been asked for. So not just vis-a-vis our board, but vis-a-vis community police relations, which is the chartered purpose of our board. So I'm surprised that we haven't been asked to participate in this process, and I'm surprised that we haven't been asked to participate on this new task force. But we haven't, and that's the fact of the matter. Any other board members like to comment? Well, okay. I guess report from IPD. Are you done, Graham? I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was pretty much it. Thank you, Rick.
Vince, do you have anything particular for us?
Yeah, I'll be brief. But just we still face the hiring challenges. As you know, we had 2 members of our department that left earlier this spring. We have another officer that will be retiring the end of this month. We're in the process of hiring 3 in time for the Syracuse Police Academy next week, so that's coming down to the wire. But we are facing some challenges where we had some good applicants that withdrew, decided to go to other departments. And once we get through this next group, then we're going to do some more interviews this summer, and then hopes of filling the rest of the positions and getting those officers to another academy. Now, it won't be Syracuse, it won't be Binghamton, because those academies are already in the process now, or like in the case of Syracuse, that starts next week. So we'll have to look for something maybe a little bit further away. Aside from that, we have, there was a letter or a media release that I did send out just a little while ago that we got from CARS. Very appreciative of the response that took place for an incident down there on June 2nd. And they were very appreciative of the professionalism, the escalation, not only from members of the IPD, but the Sheriff's Department and State Police that also assisted us down there. That was a media release that went out, but beyond that, I did not see it published locally in any of the media outlets. But if you don't have a copy, I'm sure Melody will get that to you, or check your email boxes. But there is a copy that I did forward along with that.
I'll have to send it to Shirley
regarding
with the new email, but I have it to everyone else. I'll have to get it to Shirley's
Okay.
new email.
Okay. And part of the challenges with the hiring, it's a very lengthy process, and there's multiple steps involved. And that's one of many challenges that we do face when it comes to trying to bring on new people. But like we've said over the years, our personnel that are leaving are outpacing the pace where we can hire new personnel. That's all I have.
What has been the effort about recruitment? What's
that?
What's been the recruitment effort? What does that look like?
Well, right now we're still operating off the current list, so we have to work within the parameters that civil service provides us. So we're still working off the current list. If a decision is made by human resources to schedule another exam, then our recruitment team will get involved and try to recruit people to take the test. So right now we're still working off of the most recent civil service list.
Well, I think you kind of froze a little bit.
And that was based. We're currently working off the current civil service list based off of the examination that took place last fall. So if we do decide to give another test, human resources decides it's time to give another civil service test, and that's when our recruitment team will step in and try to recruit people to take the test. So for right now, we've gone through certain groups within the civil service list. Those individuals, if we end up hiring them, they get sworn in, we'll work in the next group on the list for a later academy, and that'll take place over the summer.
Okay. Do you happen to know how many times the PBA and the mayor's office have met?
I do not.
Okay. I mean, I read the campaign media release thing, and I definitely hear where, some folks can feel frustrated, but I feel like both sides are not really kind of doing the same thing and kind of have some things in common. And that's why I'm wondering how many times folks have been in the same room. And so I'm really concerned in terms of how much time is being wasted on this kind of politics business. If I'm really gonna, be direct about this kind of thing. Graham, the first thing was addressing how it's not helpful. But to me, I can't really, to me, my concern is that both sides don't take each other seriously enough to hear each other. And I really don't understand. And most of these I know they have this whole plan of reforming business, but some things can be really done without having it, that don't take so long. A lot of these reforms, just from my experience having to go through that whole policy review or the process having to do with the whole protest guidelines, and reading some of the policies within the department, even the police officers will agree that there's some changes that folks can be had that don't take so much time. I'm going on a rant, but my point is that are there some efforts for folks to actually kind of meet together and kind of review? Because point number 3 or something like that, like one of the points actually said that they agree with this thing. And I was looking at it and was just like, I mean, a lot of this is more of like, just people don't like how things are being done. And I could agree with some parts, but I don't know if it's both sides are doing the same thing. So what are we doing to get to a more proper point?
Well, I can address the question of meetings. There have been several meetings with the PBA. I've attended at least one of them, as have other council colleagues, and as has the mayor. And so there's been no lack of will to address some of the concerns of the PBA, including the membership of the task force itself. There have been a lot of meetings, and I think it's difficult to kind of say, those have been, I hope, undertaken on both sides in good faith, based on the experience I had of going to one of the meetings. The reason I say this is unhelpful is the tone of the message from the PBA, which seems to be not very constructive. And I'll just leave it at that. There are certainly areas for agreement, but you have to remember, I think, that this reimagining public safety is something that was basically decided unanimously by duly elected officials in the city. And so to come up, I think, with if you like, another campaign to try and, advocate for a particular perspective is unhelpful, I think. But I certainly hope that, as these discussions continue, and the PBA will be participating in the task force. And so they will continue to, provide input to the members of that task force. But to your question, Richard, there have been multiple meetings since the legislation was passed earlier this year.
Thank you.
Well, Vince, the question was kind of originally directed for you. I appreciate your response, Graham.
No, I mean, I understand the frustration.
No. I'm saying he's frozen, it sounds like.
Can you see me or hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There you go.
Regarding any meetings between the mayor and the PBA, I have not been privy to any of those communications or what's been relayed. So I really can't add anything more than that at this point.
Okay, I appreciate the response, Graham. Thank you, Vince, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I'm really hoping something starts to really, start to switch up a little bit about how this general narrative is being displayed. Because once you actually talk or meet, when you're on the ground, you actually talk to folks, both officers and regular people, you really be surprised how much this is not as much of a spectacle as it can be made, or that could be made by both sides. And it doesn't even focus on some of the main original points, but I'm not even going to get to that. I'm just saying, Graham, if you're talking to the mayor, Vince, if you're talking to PBA, you guys might want to have this conversation in the same room.
I agree. I think you get a better feel of, and you can communicate a lot better versus doing Zoom and videos freezing out and things like that. I definitely am a big fan of in-person dialogue versus over the phone or through Zoom.
Well, let me just add, Richard, that these recent meetings have been in person once people have been vaccinated. So the one I attended was in person. The one before that was in person. The earlier ones, some of those were done by Zoom, but there have been multiple in-person meetings with the PBA by council colleagues and by the mayor.
Okay, it's my apologies. I was speaking more figuratively, but I appreciate the literal responses.
Well, I have a question after this discussion. It's like the PBA obviously it's a union that represents the officers. But policy is established by the department. So shouldn't somebody from the department, in addition to the PBA, be involved in these discussions? I mean, it gets to what Richard is saying. You get people in the room and they understand from both sides what's going on, and they can agree on things and move things forward. Am I mistaken? Do I misunderstand this?
Is that for me, Shirley? There's Acting Chief Jolie could probably give a better answer on some of the meetings that the PBA's had with, with the mayor. Unfortunately, today he's tied up in another matter, so we couldn't be here today. He may be able to answer that better than I can, but I can tell you based on the last meeting I had with the PBA, which was a little over a month ago, this had not been brought up. So any meetings that have taken place in the last 4 weeks or better, there may be more information out there that has not been shared with me at this point.
Thanks, Vince.
So, Melody, did you have any more report from staff, or trying to keep us moving because you asked for?
Yeah. What was I going to say? I'm sorry. I'm so distracted with trying to figure out what's going on with the YouTube side of things, but I've got Julie working on that, and Graham, it seems like CA will be a-okay. She figured things out on her end. There was some login confusion, but that should be fine. I do go from this meeting though to one of the first meetings dealing with this group that's working, the leadership team for the working group. So I'm hoping that I can find a way to maybe report out to this group in a meaningful way and be available for questions moving forward about where the process stands and who's involved. I think it's just unfortunately a little bit behind where the process of information flow needs to be in order to answer some of your questions. And then in terms of other items, I was working with Maury on the brochure formatting that Michael had worked on. I believe the last communication I had with him, I was inquiring about some sort of imagery to put on the front of the trifold brochure. A picture was suggested, a photo that was from an Ithaca Voice article, and in reaching out to the Ithaca Voice, it became clear that that was perhaps not a use that the individuals pictured in the photo would be happy with their likeliness being featured upon. So I'm going to go back to the idea of there just being a graphic or something to put on the front of that brochure, but we've got all the information reorganized so that the folds will work and everything like that. So that's the only other pertinent thing that I'm working on, and that should be ready to roll in a couple of days. So I'll just circulate that around to the group. And then we'll have to get in discussion about where that document should live, if there should be, because I know that there was some hesitation from having it be on the community police board page because it's not necessarily a community police board document. It was more something that you all were working together with the city attorney's office and IPD on. So we can have another discussion about where that should land. That's all I have.
Do you need any further guidance from us?
I'm sorry, it's breaking up.
Do
Frozen.
you need any further
There.
guidance from us, or are you comfortable with
I think I'm happy working with Maury at this time, just because I will ask though if he has a suggestion based on where the document should be linked and it involves CPB. I'll be sure to get you guys on for that decision.
Thanks.
Mhm.
I don't have any old business. Is anyone else on old business? And as far as the new business, I think we've discussed that. I mean, my intention with the new business was just to let you guys know that I had written to the mayor twice to express my disappointment that we had not been, that we didn't get a reply, and that my real disappointment is, this is my personal disappointment, that the expertise of our group has not and is, as of now, is not being used. I don't, the tone of what I wrote to the mayor was, very neutral. I don't intend to move forward with any other communications with him unless I have the support and encouragement of the rest of the board. It's not something I want to do on my own. So you can let me know how you feel about this now or moving on into the future. But I'm not going to make any further moves on this until the board comes to a consensus. Any comments?
I agree.
This is a consensus about getting involved, correct?
Yes, yes. Response to my offering our expertise to the mayor.
Oh, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I feel like it's implied already.
So you're agreeing to what, though? That's what I'm asking. Do I try to move forward with more communication or just wait?
To me, I don't think. I think at this point, it's up to the mayor to do what. The ball's in the court, in the mayor's court, personally, from my view. And so, and it couldn't be any clearer. I don't know how many times we've had this kind of conversation. I mean, the only thing that we could probably do is write it in a different language and see what happens. But really, at this point, I'm pretty sure the point's been made.
I agree with Richard. We've offered, the decisions have been made through the whole process without our input, and it appears that it's not needed, wanted, or he knows where we are. He joined one of our meetings earlier this year, so we are available for that, for whatever purpose.
I think once the makeup of the task force is revealed, then we go to them directly, Rick, and you tell them, look, we are a valuable resource that you should tap into. We're here, and see where they take it. Because they may be looking around for information, resource, help. So we'll have to see what happens there.
I feel you've already answered this.
I agree, Connie. The non-answer is his answer.
And moving on, yeah, we can contact the task force. Once that comes out, we can talk about that next month and how we might want to reach out to the task force. If we don't hear anything, and maybe we will. That's it for our official agenda. We do not have executive session material today. So any other comments before we wind up and let Melody figure out the internet?
Apologies about all this. If anyone reaches out to any of parties involved here, if you hear, where was that meeting? I was going to watch it. You can just send them my way, and I'll make sure that I archive this recording and find a way to compress it and either, get a link to a shared file or something, get people the recording. Just kind of a strange thing, but it sounds like CA should work. Yes, so maybe it's resolved. Yeah,
You might be
sorry.
a little young for this, but on the top of the brochure, I might suggest Dudley Do-Right. Remember him?
Yeah.
I think he'd look good on the brochure.
Yeah, go ahead and give me a little hand drawing and I'll scan it in and
Hey, Rick. Hey, this is off topic. Does anybody have any idea of a replacement for Hannah coming up? I mean, it's hard to lose someone of that quality,
Yeah.
but I'm wondering if she has been working hard to find someone that might step into her shoes. So I'd hate to lose that link with the youth and the community. She was pretty strong. That was, a breath of fresh air and some real insight. And I'm hoping that we have someone equally strong to replace her.
I've been kind of spreading the word, hope, kind of tossing around, seeing what comes back, but I haven't gotten anything back yet. But I am trying to spread the word so folks are aware. I don't know if there's other better ways, perhaps in the newspaper or something, but I'm just kind of thinking out loud here.
Well, good. There's a lot of organizations and clubs or committees that high school students are involved in that are somewhat in school, somewhat out of school, involved with the local community centers that really focus on social justice. And going through some of those, groups, clubs, meetings, might find somebody who really would like to jump right into, something important and real here.
The last time we didn't have a youth member, we did contact the high school principal, IHS, and the New Roots School. And we could also contact the Lehman alternate school. I'd be willing to type up a little email telling them that we have an opening. They could call me and, we could chat about it if they had any suggestions.
Let me check the names of some of these other groups that are youth oriented, that are involved with social justice. I have a fair number of ideas here through the scholarship program that our high school class did. That was one of the requirements for receiving it, was the recipient had to be involved in some form of community outreach. And there was a number of activities, some through school, but some through, Southside GIAC, Women's Opportunity Center, that kind of thing. So there's other things. I can get a list together of other places to go rather than just straight through school.
Yeah, we could do all of the above, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Okay,
perhaps
well,
circle
that's-
back to Hannah, because I know that she said she had some people she was talking to. I don't know where those conversations landed, but
Yeah,
Let's put this on for a new business agenda for next month
okay.
sounds good.
to finalize the plans for youth member recruitment.
Mhm.
We can always take it off if somebody is really interested in an application process. We can push that back. Anybody else?
Hey Vince, do you know if there's any other complaints or internal complaints or like one of those things that need to go in executive session or?
If you want to go in an executive session, we can. But
But we discussed them in executive session.
yeah, I don't have anything recent. Let me check here real quick. Nothing since the last meeting to discuss right at the moment.
Okay.
All right, with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right, all in favor?
yo.
Thank you, Melody.
Yeah, I will have this worked out next time. I apologize.
Got
Nope,
it.
take your time, maybe all right.
You did a great job. Renee. Thanks.
Ah,
Thanks,
silliness.
everybody. See you soon.
All
Have
right.
a good day,
Goodbye.
everyone.
See you all.